Hey, this is Dr. Jessica Shepard, and this is my podcast. So welcome. We are here live in New York City on a rooftop, and we have some amazing guests for you to meet in this podcast. I want you to be excited about your wellness. We are going to travel. We are going to meet amazing guests as they expose and reveal the world of wellness to you so you can incorporate it into your life. So come on, let's go. So today we have a very, very special guest who I am delighted that I could bring her into your space. First and foremost, she is a wife, she is a mother, and her extensive list of accolades, including producer, critically acclaimed film that was debuted at Sundance Film Festival, Monster. But she also has a very deep passion for health and wellness because she is incorporated into her lifestyle. And we're gonna show all of those features today as she takes you through her journey. That's the most important thing, is that you hear other people's journey for health and wellness. And today you're going to meet Tanya Lewis-Lee, who we back in 2017 did Blogger Health.
Exactly.
It was here in New York, and the stars are aligned, and she is back here with us today. And I'm so delighted, especially now that you have a new product.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for this podcast.
Yes.
I think it's really important that we talk about it, right? I mean, I think that's first and foremost, that as women, we're open to having a conversation about how to access and not be afraid to ask questions and share with each other. So thank you for that.
You're so
Thrilled
welcome.
to be here.
I really admire your journey, as I've read multiple interviews that you've done, but also just hearing what you have done over the years, especially with developing new products. But also in 2007, you were telling me that that was kind of like your introduction into how important health was and is to our lives when you were tapped by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Minority Health as a national spokesperson.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about that journey and why that was so important to you.
Yeah. So on my journey with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Minority Health, I was a spokesperson for an infant mortality awareness raising campaign called A Healthy Baby Begins With You. And what I discovered was when you talk about an infant's health, you're really talking about the health of a woman.
Right.
And infant mortality really is the marker of the health of a nation. Infant mortality meaning the death of a child after a live birth before its first birthday. And so as I was traveling around the country, I was meeting all kinds of people who were stakeholders or are stakeholders in terms of the health of infants and the health of women, and just discovering lots of information. And you know, really, for my own personal journey, it sort of woke me up. I mean, I'm a person who was a chubby child, and I have been on probably every diet that there possibly is.
I mean, who hasn't?
I mean, and it was always about trying to get down to a size. It was like, oh, I gained weight, I need to get skinny.
Did you realize that after you lost the weight, then you went back to what you ate before? And
exactly.
then you're like...
And then I gained the weight again, and I'd be like, oh, why did I do? And now I got to lose again. And I have to starve myself. And I really got to the point where 1 year I'd gained weight, and I said, I cannot go on another diet. And it dovetailed with me being a part of the campaign. So I really began to think about, okay, I really need a lifestyle way of eating. And I grew up not really liking meat very much, so it was very easy for me to give. I haven't eaten poultry or red meat in over almost 40 years now.
Oh, wow.
I didn't like it as a child, right? So that was an easy thing for me. But the dairy, processed foods, I will say a challenge for me still is overeating. I like food. I like to eat.
You're like, I never said I didn't like food.
I
it's
love
just
to
particular
eat
type of food.
Good food.
Right.
You know, but managing portions and all that's important. But I had to figure it out. And working with the Office of Minority Health and really thinking about it from a health perspective, where we really started getting into, well, let's look at what our numbers are. What does that mean in terms of your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your triglycerides, you know, your sugar numbers? How do you measure your health in terms of those numbers? And that's where I dialed in.
Did you find that there is like a disconnect between disease and what you eat and exercise?
Well, what I certainly discovered is that if you certain foods are healing foods,
Right.
and certain foods are disease foods, right?
Yeah, they're completely inflammatory foods
Exactly.
and cause our internal bodies to just literally be inflamed all the time.
Right.
And that's what leads to the hypertension and the diabetes and the obesity. It's just like, it's almost like a hamster. And you just can't
Right.
get out of that wheel.
And statistically, at
Mhm.
my age, being an African American woman, I should have already indicators for diabetes, high blood
Mhm.
pressure, all of that, which I don't. And even it runs in my family, certainly from our diets and our
Right.
way of living, right?
Yeah.
And I right now, knock on some wood,
We got to find some wood.
Exactly. I'm doing pretty good, but I know it's because of the lifestyle choices that I've made.
I completely agree with you because family history, when we think of medical conditions, really sometimes are the things we just can't get rid of. Those are the things that are part of our genetic predisposition, but you really can curtail some of those disease processes with incorporating healthy food and fitness. So a
Right.
quick question that I have, because I'm sure everyone is going to want to know,
Mhm.
is Spike
Mhm.
a vegetarian or vegan?
Spike does not eat red meat,
Mhm.
and he does not eat pork.
Mhm.
He was like that when we met. Isn't that funny?
Really?
And it's such a funny thing because it was like, oh, I don't eat red meat, and I don't eat red meat or poultry or pork, and he doesn't eat red meat or pork, and it's just like, oh, okay, but he'll eat duck. He eats not a lot of.
It's not in every
chicken.
meal.
Not in every
Some
meal.
duck in every meal.
Right. I am totally dairy free.
Mhm.
He will eat dairy.
Okay.
But he's fairly healthy himself in like his choices of food.
That's good. And what about
Yeah.
Satchel and Jackson?
They eat whatever they want. I don't interfere.
Right.
But it's funny. Satchel's eating less red meat these days.
Mhm.
She's finding it's not really agreeing with her. Jackson will eat red meat. Jackson has a peanut allergy.
Mhm.
Oh,
So do
probably-
I.
Yeah. Do you really?
Yes, I had one today.
Oh, that's so
Yeah, I went to
interesting.
a
So
workout
scary.
class and I bit into something. I'm like, oh, that has peanut.
Right.
But I'm still here, so I'm good.
Right,
I'm still-
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
But what happens with him though is because of that, the way he eats, right? He's 22, but it's still
Mhm.
pasta, French fries, steak, things that are that you wouldn't slip nuts into.
Right,
you
right.
know, but he's like a string bean, tall
Right.
and skinny.
I'm gonna
Hopefully
see how
that'll
long that lasts. I know.
Exactly. And I keep telling them, both of them, she's 25, he's 22, you guys better get that workout routine going
Mhm.
now so that by the time you're my age, you're not just trying to figure it out.
But I think one of the most important things is that you are setting a foundation of that.
Right. They see
And
it.
they're going to mirror that at some point. I mean,
Hopefully.
all of us at 21, 22,
You didn't
eat
need
whatever
it.
you want,
Exactly.
right? And then
That's true.
eventually you kind of fall into what you've been shown and what
Right.
your parents or the significant people who make impact in your life do. So I think that's one of the reasons why
Mhm.
we have a culture that actually tends to eat more fried, more
Right.
because that's what they saw other people do,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely, and you raised such a great point too, like the people around you, right?
Mhm.
It's like
influence.
it's really that to me. When I do talk to lots of women about health and wellness, and
Uh-huh.
one of the biggest saboteurs are the people around you.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you decide to make a lifestyle change, oh. She thinks she's too good
Right.
for that cake and fried chicken now. Okay, cutie.
right.
And I really try to encourage us all
Mm-hmm.
to check yourself before you judge somebody else
Right.
for trying to do something good for themselves. Are you that person?
And we should be encouraging people to
Right.
make better decisions.
And watch and
Yeah.
see. Like maybe if it works out for her,
Then I
you
could
might want
try
to
it.
try it.
Which is exactly what this podcast is about, is to expose people to different trends, different foods, different exercises that are important.
Right.
A lot of my patients who suffer maybe from pelvic pain, I'm like, you know what? Pilates and yoga can actually help strengthen those pelvic muscles. But I can tell by some of the looks on their faces as I'm telling them that they're like, I don't know about that.
Well, it's so funny, and you talk about yoga. I mean, I'm relatively new to yoga,
Mhm.
actually. I really just started yoga this year, or in July.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I love
Isn't it amazing?
it because there's a meditative part to it. It is accessible.
Yes.
It's not. I mean, there are classes that are harder than
Mhm,
others.
mhm.
But I feel like anybody can do yoga, and it really is restorative. It's like taking a moment for oneself.
It has like a meditation aspect to it that for me is mental.
Right.
And it really centers me and allows me to really just take a breath, and internalize my strength. And
Right.
that mental health is obviously, that's something that is not talked about enough, but that's something that actually contributes to my mental health and making it better is meditating and allowing me to center on myself.
Right.
So I always like to have a little icebreaker and a question that people wouldn't know about you.
Okay.
So what would you say is your favorite food?
Well, my favorite food is a blueberry smoothie I make every morning.
That's your favorite food?
It's like
You're like, that's why I make it every morning.
I love it.
So do you put
It's so
fresh
delicious.
blueberries? So what's in
Frozen,
it? Tell us what's in
frozen blueberries, spinach, a little protein powder, almond butter,
it.
and a little cocoa powder. And I mix it up with some coconut water.
Okay.
And it is delicious. It tastes really good.
I think I'm going to have to go home and make some.
And I feel like it feeds my cells and I feel good when I eat it. So I would say that I know it's so weird.
I was expecting you to say something very exotic, like an ostrich burger or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Something like really off the cuff.
No.
I want everyone who's watching this podcast to understand what the theme of this podcast is, which is to allow others to explore and be exposed to wellness overall, whether that's physical, emotional, spiritual, mental health, and see how it fits in others' lives. So like you were saying earlier, if you're to see someone who was doing something and say, hey, I might try that for myself. But I think it's the exposure and the influence around that allows people to say, I think I might want that for myself. And how do I get there?
And I also think too, it's like, I don't know, it's getting out of your comfort zone, right? People are so used to doing what they are used to doing. And it seems so foreign and exotic, to use your word, right? Like vegans, they're exotic weirdos who are like hippy dippy.
Right.
Like, why would I want to be a plant-based person? That's not who I am. I come from a family that does this, as opposed to, like you say, exposing yourself to it and saying, hey, I'll try it.
And you may not even have to be all vegan.
Exactly.
You may be like, on Mondays, I'm going to be vegan, or I'm going to incorporate a certain type of vegan diet for maybe a month out of the year.
Just to give it a try. And you may find things that you really actually like.
Yep. And then maybe even transition into a vegan and look at you. Outside of the health and wellness aspect is your Netflix series.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about, I watched an interview that you did with Spike, and it was, obviously it's based off of the movie.
Right.
But you were the one that brought up the idea.
Right.
So share with everyone how that came about and why it's so important to you.
Yeah, well, at the time when we were first thinking about She's Gotta Have It, Spike had done, or he had spoken somewhere, and he got very passionate talking about gentrification in Brooklyn, and in particular in the community where he grew up.
Yeah.
And, I love my husband very much, and he can be very passionate.
Yeah.
And, and one of the things I often say to him is like, well, why don't you put it in the work? Sometimes instead of just, talking at people, telling them, show them what you're talking about. And so that sort of began the conversation, like, oh, well, what would a show look like? And then we started talking about, well, we want to show Brooklyn, and I'm a Black woman, so I'd like to see a Black woman as the lead. And if it's in Fort Greene, well, you've already done She's Gotta Have It. Why not take that character and bring her forward to today? And what would the life of a 20-something-year-old African-American woman in Brooklyn today be like? An artist who's trying to make it. And it was great because, again, bringing it back to the health a little bit, it's we were able to talk about issues around her health and wellness and her well-being.
And that's different to the movie, which that was never really a part of.
Although I can't say that totally, because Spike did have her going to a therapist in the movie as well.
Oh, which was probably groundbreaking.
Oh, I'm sure.
Back then.
Back then. In
which we are kind of aging ourselves, because some people who are seeing the series now have never seen the movie because they were so young, or not even born.
Right, exactly.
Which we won't go into that, but we didn't age, the show aged.
I will say I'm getting to this place where I'm enjoying the age. Because
it comes with wealth, right?
And knowledge. And knowledge. And sort of a little like, I'm not worried about
Right.
that as much.
I'm not worried about this. I have age on my side.
Right.
I have experience.
You know what? You have to find the positive in
Yes.
everything.
Silver lining in age.
Exactly.
Exactly. But we're not going to share our age today.
No, we don't need to get into
We don't need to
numbers.
do all of that. But as a women's health expert, so bringing it back to the podcast, I've done media, I've done speaking events, and then my day-to-day, which is just going from
Sure.
exam room to exam room and hearing so many women's stories.
Mhm.
That to me is the reason why I'm passionate about being that doctor that can bring in wellness into the office
Mhm.
and allow women to say, I want to now make that my life course and my life journey. And so even if I can get just literally one woman a week to say,
Right.
I'm going to try a yoga class,
Absolutely.
or I'm going to go to a pelvic physical therapist for my pain, or I'm going to go to a therapist because I had a bad breakup.
Right.
Those are the factors that I really feel is going to propel us forward
Mhm.
as far as health, wellness, and not just, like you said, kind of like that visual out there that people have that they
Mhm.
can't attain. And they're like, well, that's for that type of person, and that's for that type of
Right.
person. And not really. It should be for everyone.
Absolutely. And I will say one of the things I feel like that I've discovered the secret to life,
You did.
which is
Are we gonna share it with everybody?
I will share the secret of like what I've discovered
Yeah.
is that life is a process.
Yeah.
Everything is process. So it doesn't matter where you are right
Mhm.
here. You're going through process one way or the other,
Right.
So it's about choosing the tools and the path that you're going to go on in your process. And I think trying to get people to really understand that, again, this conversation that we're having about health is not about weight.
And do you notice
Forget
we've
that.
never mentioned that? We've
Exactly.
never mentioned
It's
weight
not about
because it's
that.
not about that.
It's about your health journey and
Yeah.
your process. And it's about being open, as you were saying,
Mhm.
to the process and trying new things and finding what really works for you.
And the beautiful part about that, that you mentioned is like, it doesn't matter where you are. It's all a process. It's all a journey. But we do have the ability to choose
Exactly.
that path. So we can be at whatever part we are in life. It can be, emotionally a bad part of your life, but you still have the opportunity
Exactly.
to choose things that are going to impact your health. And so
And
that's
that's
why I just keep talking
real.
about it.
And that's real. And it doesn't matter where you are socioeconomically,
Doesn't matter.
where you are educational wise, where you are in your life. And I know it can be harder
Mhm.
for some people, but that doesn't mean you can't access it.
Right. I think it's the access that we do have, but I think it's being vulnerable as part of
Mhm.
that. Being vulnerable to the fact that I may not be here socioeconomically, I may not be here mentally or emotionally, but I still have things that can
Exactly.
alter my path and improve my health.
Exactly.
Yes. And I think that is why I feel that, when I talk to patients and they seem so rigid, they just,
Mhm.
they know that they need help in whatever, department that is, but they feel that they can't get there.
Right.
And so that's why I love learning new things, because I can just bring it right back to them. Like, did you know this? Did you know that there was this that can help you?
Right.
And a lot of times they're like, really? I didn't know that
Right.
was there. And I'm like, perfect. If I can enlighten someone once a day about something
Exactly.
that they didn't know about that contributes to their health outside of my office, that's the most important part.
Right.
Because when they leave my office,
Right.
I don't have any, factor over what they go home to eat or who they go home to or their
Right.
job. But if I can impact how they can make that better, like
Right.
even on the job, stress, meditation, 5 minutes of meditation during a stressful day can really decrease
Mhm.
inflammation in your body.
Right.
So those are the tips that I want people to learn throughout this journey.
That inflammation in the body
Yes.
is a big
Big,
one.
big, 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 big.
Big
Mhm.
one. And I feel like we're just starting to have the conversation about
Oh
that.
yeah.
I feel like it's a new conversation, but one that hopefully we are hearing,
Mhm.
and figuring out how to address.
Because I feel that people think that inflammation is like something very abstract, like it's
Right.
it's either side of the spectrum. Like there can be, I'm like, no, inflammation can impact you in ways that you would never think.
Right.
Your stress level can cause inflammation.
Mhm.
The foods that you eat,
Right.
are they processed foods? Are they whole foods? Are
Mhm.
they whatever it is? All these little things that we can
Mhm.
change and decrease that inflammation in our life it's like small changes make a big impact
Exactly.
over time.
Exactly.
So I want to know all about Movida. So this
Yes.
launch, is it 2019 it launched or 2018?
2018, where are we? 2017 we launched.
2017?
Actually. Yeah.
Okay. So we're like almost 3 years in.
Almost, yeah. Almost 3 years in. We've got, look,
But you had launched this but when we were, I think maybe right after.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was January 2017 when we did Blog
so
for
it was
Health.
probably right. It was probably right around there.
Yeah.
January 2017. So it was May that we really,
Yeah, and I was so excited when I saw that because I was like, oh, she gets it.
Yeah.
It was like groundbreaking for me. So tell me all about what Movida Organics is.
So, again, Movida really came out of my travels with the Department of Health and Human Services. I really, like I said, was getting lots of information and wanted to share it with the community. But look, things cost money to even do that, right? So I was looking to raise funds. I had just started taking a really good vitamin supplement. And I met a gentleman who was at the time the CEO of another vitamin company. And we started talking. And he gave me a real education on vitamin supplements. Like,
what did you learn about vitamins?
Well,
I feel that a lot of people think vitamins are great for them, which they are, but how much they consume and what they're consuming, a lot of times they're miseducated on that.
That's the key. Like everything, there are good products and not so great products.
Right.
And the key is you want to find a premium product that you are taking that really actually performs for you.
Because when people walk into like a grocery store or pharmacy,
There's so much.
I mean, it's like
it's
so much product. Which one do you choose?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for us, first and foremost, we wanted to create an organic supplement. We wanted something that was organic, that we knew was clean.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that what we said was in it was really in it, that it wasn't a bunch of fillers, that even there's no coating on it, that,
Because that, with the digestion.
Exactly.
Right?
Well,
okay.
And what we did was there's the way we ferment the product, you can take it on an empty stomach. Because a lot of vitamins you cannot take on an empty stomach.
Right.
Irritate your stomach.
Oh, so this you can take early in the morning, not worrying. Yes, I love that.
First thing in the morning with a glass of water, and then you're good to go for the day. We are a 1 a day. The multi is 1 a day. The prenatal is 2 a day, but at the same time.
Prenatals, yes.
And that's the other thing. A lot of products are really 4 tablets a day over the course of a day. People don't necessarily read.
And then they're not going to take it.
And they're not even getting it. And who takes it all throughout the day?
They're not going to do it.
Right.
Not 4 times a day.
Right.
So one of the other things that I love is you told me when you got here is that how do you refill these?
Right. So
I want to see.
We really wanted to make sure, first of all, the packaging was important. And we wanted it to be a fun, beautiful experience.
I love that they come in this packaging. Yes.
Yeah.
So when you got here today, one of the things, I love the packaging. The bottle is beautiful, but tell me how you repurpose this in a way.
So we wanted to be good for you, good for the environment. So the idea is that you get the beautiful bottle that you don't mind leaving out on your nightstand.
And let's see how it's packaged.
And then you get a subscription. So you get the bottle first. And then every month thereafter.
Which I love that it's like organic.
Yeah,
it looks
natural,
like burlap.
Very natural. And then, this is the prenatal, but you get a pouch, and so you can refill your bottle. So it's.
Do you understand how important that is? Because can you imagine how much clutter? First of all, this is not plastic.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So I love that. That's environmental. But the refills. Yeah. We overpackage everything.
Well, I know, and I love that you say clutter too, because the other thing I'm big on too is your environment.
Yeah.
Can support your health and wellness. Cleaning out. You're having the tools that you need, not excess.
Right.
Because clutter to me makes it so hard.
It creates chaos in your mind.
Exactly.
There are too many things around.
Exactly.
And so this decreases that. So this comes as a subscription.
Right.
And so how long do these typically last?
So these are 30-day supplies.
Okay.
Everything is a 30-day supply, so it comes monthly. Again, we're at MovidaOrganics.com.
Yes.
We also sell on Amazon.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And yeah, we love the idea of the subscription to keep you.
I love that. I love the packaging.
Yeah,
I think that's brilliant.
Very exciting. So yeah, and what we have is I think I said the multi, the prenatal, and the beauty. And we like to hear from women out there what they're looking for. It's so fascinating. You know what people really want?
What?
A menopause pill.
Ooh, let's work on one.
I know, right? I've had so many women say to me, are you going to do something? And I have wonderful scientists, formulators who I talk to who are men. And it's so funny. I'm like, what about the men? And they all
They're
kind
always
of
like
go,
forgotten.
they go kind of blank. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you.
Oh, no, it's a thing. They need it. They want it.
Yeah.
And so I think that we can capture that for them.
Exactly.
Well, we're at the end of our session.
So fast.
I know. But this has been delightful. I really am honored that you have decided to share your time and your space with our listeners and our viewers, because they need to hear other people's experiences so they can take that into their lives.
Right.
One thing, we always end with a question.
Okay.
And so it's basically what I call my huddle question, which is, if you had a huddle of people, what would your, kind of like football, which I don't watch because I don't get it. I'm Canadian. I'm like, what is this thing? What would your huddle mantra be?
That's an interesting one. I guess a huddle mantra has to be like something that's like precise and on point, right? I would say keep moving.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. Keep moving, whether it's mentally, emotionally, but physically too.
Keep moving.
I love that. So as we are finished here, I want you to share your handles and how people can know more about Movita Organics.
So Instagram at Tanya Lewis Lee, Tanya spelled with an O. We're also at Movita Organics. And our website is movitaorganics.com. And as I said, you can find us on Amazon as well.
And one more thing, what is your 28-day challenge that's going on right now?
Yes, I'm a big fan of a 28-day challenge. I think it takes 28 days to make a good habit. And so we're just encouraging everyone to join me in the 28-day challenge to stay fit. I believe in journaling. I write it down every day to keep myself going, and it's fun to also reflect on where I was and where I am.
So thank you. Everyone, go follow her, go follow Movita Organics. And I am Dr. Jessica Shepard. I am the host of this podcast where we are going to reveal amazing wellness and fitness for your life. We are going to bring people into your space. We're going to take you in different cities because we want you to live a fabulous life. So tune in for our other segments, and we'll see you soon.
This episode has been sponsored by Movita Organics, which is your essential daily wellness brand of vitamins and supplements. This brand is available to you on movitaorganics.com, where we are offering a 25% off code that allows you to experience this wonderful product. That code is BBPMOV25. So head over to movitaorganics.com and use this code for 25% off for this wonderful multivitamin and supplement line. If you loved everything you heard, please go by our channels on YouTube and Spotify and make sure you press that subscription button so you'll never miss an episode. And if you found value in what we had to tell you today, or you simply want to tell a friend, make sure that you rate us as well. Be sure to catch our next episode of Breathe and Bloom, where we will expose the world of wellness like you've never seen.